Chapter 7. The Confession. As Dorian was having breakfast the next morning, Basil Hallward came into the room.
"I'm so glad I found you, Dorian,"
he said.
"I called last night, and they told me you were at the opera. Of course, I know that was impossible, but you didn't tell anyone where you were. I spent a terrible evening worrying about you. I can't tell you how heartbroken I am about the whole thing. I know what you must suffer. Did you go and see the girl's mother? What did she say about it all?"
"My dear Basil, I don't know,"
said Dorian, drinking some wine and looking very bored.
"I was at the opera."
"You went to the opera?"
said Hallward, speaking very slowly.
"You went to the opera while Sybil Vane was lying dead in some dirty room? Dorian, how could you?"
"Stop, Basil. I won't hear it,"
cried Dorian.
"What is done is done. What is past is past."
"You call yesterday the past?"
Only stupid people need years to lose an emotion. I don't want to be dominated by my emotions. I want to use them, to enjoy them, to dominate them.
"Dorian, this is horrible. Something has changed you completely. You look exactly like the beautiful boy who came to my studio. But you were simple and affectionate then. You talk as if you had no heart, no pity." "It's all Harry's influence. I can see that."
Harry has taught me many things, Basil. You've only taught me to love my own beauty.
"I'm very sorry for that, Dorian."
I don't know what you mean, Basil. What do you want?
"I want the Dorian Gray I used to paint,"
said the artist sadly.
Basil, I was a boy when you met me. I'm a man now. I have new passions, new thoughts, new ideas. I'm different, but you must always be my friend. Of course, I'm very fond of Harry, but I know that you're better than he is. Don't leave me, Basil, and don't argue with me. I am what I am."
The painter was moved by Dorian's words. Dorian was very dear to him, and he did not want to argue with him. He hoped that his cold indifference was merely a passing mood.
"Well, Dorian,"
he said with a sad smile,
"I won't speak to you again about this horrible thing. You must come and sit for me soon."
"I can never sit for you again, Basil. It's impossible,"
he cried.
"What nonsense! Don't you like the portrait I did for you? Where is it? Why have you put a screen in front of it?"
"The light was too strong for the picture."
"Too strong? No, the light is perfect here. Let me see it."
He walked towards the portrait. A cry of terror came from Dorian Gray's lips, and he rushed between the painter and the screen.
"Basil!"
he said.
"If you try to look at it, I'll never speak to you again as long as I live."
Hallward was shocked. He had never seen Dorian like this before. He was pale and trembling with rage.
"Of course I won't look at it if you don't want me to,"
he said rather coldly.
"but it seems absurd that I shouldn't see my own work, especially as I'm going to exhibit it in Paris in the autumn."
"To exhibit it? You want to exhibit it?"
exclaimed Dorian Gray in terror. Was the world going to see his secret?
"You told me a month ago that you would never exhibit it,"
he cried.
"Why have you changed your mind?"
The painter looked troubled.
"Let's sit down. Dorian, have you ever noticed anything strange in the picture?"
"Basil!"
cried Dorian, staring at him with wild eyes.
"I see you did. Listen to what I have to say. From the moment I met you, your personality had the most extraordinary influence over me. I was totally dominated by you. I wanted to have you all to myself. I was only happy when I was with you. One day, a fatal day, I sometimes think, I decided to paint a portrait of you. When it was finished, I looked at it and felt that I'd put too much of myself into it. But after the painting had left my studio, its terrible fascination went with it. I felt I'd been foolish, and when I received this offer from Paris, I decided to accept. I never thought you'd refuse. However, I won't exhibit it if you don't want me to."
Dorian Gray took a long breath. The danger was over. Yet he felt pity for the painter who had just made this strange confession to him. He wondered if he would ever be dominated by the personality of a friend, like Lord Henry, perhaps.
It's extraordinary that you saw this in the portrait,
I saw something in it that seemed very strange,
said Dorian.
Well, you don't mind if I look at it now?
Dorian shook his head.
You mustn't ask me that, Basil.
Well, goodbye then,
said the painter sadly.
I understand how you feel.
As Hallward left the room, Dorian smiled to himself. Poor Basil! How little he knew the true reason. How strange it was. Instead of having to reveal his own secret, he had succeeded in learning his friend's secret. Now he understood the painter's wild devotion and jealousy, and he felt sorry. There was something tragic in a friendship so coloured by romance. He rang the bell, and his servant entered. He asked for him to send Mrs. Leaf, the housekeeper, to the library. When she arrived, he asked her for the key of the old schoolroom. The old woman gave him the key and left the room. Dorian put the key in his pocket and looked around. He saw a large purple bed cover embroidered in gold. He picked it up and covered the terrible thing. An hour later, 2 men arrived to move the portrait upstairs.
I'm afraid it's rather heavy,
said Dorian, opening the door of the schoolroom where he was going to hide the secrets of his corrupted soul. He had not entered the room since his cruel grandfather's death. Every moment of his lonely, painful childhood came back to him as he looked around. He remembered the immaculate purity of his life as a young boy, and now he was hiding the fatal portrait there. It was the only safe place in the house. He had the key, and no one else could enter to see his shame. On returning to the library, he found a note and a book that Lord Henry had sent him. Lord Henry's note said that he had sent him a book that might interest him. His eyes fell on the yellow book, and he began reading it. After a few minutes, he became absorbed by the strange book about a young Parisian who spent his life searching for and enjoying all sorts of passions and pleasures, good and evil. Dorian Gray was fascinated by the book and could not put it down. When he finally met Lord Henry at the club, it was nearly 9 o'clock. Lord Henry was sitting alone and looking bored.
It's all your fault, Harry,
he cried.
That book you sent me made me forget the time.
I thought you'd like it,
said Lord Henry.
I didn't say I liked it. I said it fascinated me. There's a great difference.
Chapter 9. The Revelation. The 2 men began climbing the stairs. When they reached the top, Dorian unlocked the door.
Do you insist on knowing, Basil?
He asked in a low voice.
Yes.
I'm delighted.
He answered, smiling.
You're the only man in the world who has a right to know everything about me. You've influenced my life more than you think.
Dorian opened the door, and Hallward looked around with a puzzled expression. The room was covered with dust, and there were holes in the carpet.
So you think that only God sees the soul, Basil? Take the cover off the portrait and you'll see mine.
The voice that spoke was cold and cruel.
You're mad, Dorian,
said Hallward.
You won't do it? Then I must do it myself,
said the young man, pulling off the cover and throwing it on the floor.
Ugh!
An exclamation of horror came from the painter's lips as he saw the hideous face on the canvas grinning at him. There was something in its expression that filled him with disgust. Good heavens! It was Dorian Gray's own face that he was looking at. It still had some of that marvellous beauty under the horror that disfigured it. But who had done it? He held the lamp up to the picture. In the left-hand corner was his own name. It was his own picture. and in a moment his blood became as cold as ice. What had happened? He turned and looked at Dorian Gray with the eyes of a sick man.
What does this mean?
Cried Hallward in a strange voice.
Years ago, when I was a boy,
said Dorian Gray,
you met me and taught me to love my own beauty. One day, I met a friend of yours who explained to me the wonder of youth, and you finished my portrait, which revealed to me the wonder of beauty. In a mad moment, I made a wish, or perhaps you'd call it a prayer.
I remember it. Oh, how well I remember it. No, it's impossible. There must have been something wrong with the paint. I tell you, the thing is impossible.
What is impossible?
Murmured the young man.
You told me you destroyed it.
I was wrong. It has destroyed me.
I don't believe it's my picture.
Can't you see your ideal in it?
Asked Dorian bitterly.
There was nothing evil in my ideal, nothing shameful. This is the face of a satyr.
It's the face of my soul.
What have I worshipped? It has the eyes of a devil.
Each of us has heaven and hell in him,
cried Dorian.
My God! If this is true, and that's what you've done with your life, you must be even worse than people say.
Hallward threw himself into an old chair and buried his face in his trembling hands. He could hear Dorian sobbing at the window.
Pray, Dorian, pray,
he murmured.
The prayer of your pride was answered. The prayer of your repentance will be answered too. I worshipped you too much. I'm punished for it. You worshipped yourself too much. We're both punished.
It's too late, Basil.
It's never too late. Let's pray together.
Prayers mean nothing to me now.
Don't say that. You've done enough evil in your life. Don't you see that repugnant thing staring at us?
Dorian looked at the picture, and suddenly an uncontrollable feeling of hatred for Basil Hallward came over him. He hated him more than he had ever hated anything in his life. He looked wildly around. His eyes fell on a knife lying on top of a cupboard. He seized the knife, rushed towards Hallward and stabbed him in the neck, behind the ear. Dorian stabbed him again and again. There was a groan, and then the horrible sound of someone suffocating. Hallward raised his arms 3 times. He stabbed him twice again, but the man did not move. Something began to trickle on the floor. It was Basil's blood. Dorian threw the knife on the table and listened. The man was sitting with his head on the table. He seemed to be asleep. How quickly it had been done. He felt strangely calm. He picked up the lamp and left the room without looking at the murdered man. He felt that the secret of the whole thing was not to think about it. The friend who had painted the fatal portrait had gone out of his life. That was enough. When he reached the library, he saw the bag and coat. He hid them in a secret cupboard where he kept his own disguises. He could easily get rid of them later. Then he pulled out his watch. It was 20 to 2. He sat down and began thinking. What evidence was there against him? Basil Hallward had left the house at 11. No one had seen him come in again. His servant had gone to bed. Paris, yes. Basil had gone to Paris on the midnight train as he had intended. It would be months before anyone suspected anything. Everything could be destroyed long before then. He could get away with it. Suddenly he had a thought. He put on his coat and hat, opened the door and slipped out. Then he began ringing the bell. After 5 minutes his servant appeared, looking very drowsy.
I'm sorry to wake you up, Francis,
he said,
but I forgot my key. What time is it?
2:10, sir.
2:10? How horribly late. You must wake me up at 9 tomorrow. I have some work to do.
All right, sir.
Did anyone call this evening?
Mr. Hallward, sir. He stayed here until 11, and then he went to catch his train.
Oh, I'm sorry I didn't see him. Did he leave any message?
No, sir, except that he would write to you from Paris.
That is all, Francis.
Dorian went into the library, took the blue book from one of the shelves, and began turning the pages.
Alan Campbell, 152 Hertford Street, Mayfair.
Yes, that was the man he wanted. Chapter 10. Alan Campbell. At 9 o'clock the next morning, his servant came in and opened the curtains. Dorian was sleeping peacefully with one hand under his cheek. He looked like a boy. As he opened his eyes, a smile passed across his lips. Slowly, he remembered the events of the night before, and for a moment the same hatred for Basil Hallward came back to him. The dead man was still sitting upstairs, in the sunlight now. He felt that if he continued thinking about it, he would go mad. He got up quickly, got dressed with more than usual care, and had his breakfast. Then he went over to the table and wrote 2 letters. One he put in his pocket, the other he handed to his servant.
Take this to 152 Hertford Street, Francis, and if Mr. Campbell is out of town, get his address.
He was nervous. Every second he kept looking at the clock. He became horribly agitated. What if Alan Campbell was out of England? What if he refused to come? Alan Campbell was an extremely intelligent young man. Science was his passion, and he had a chemistry laboratory of his own. He was an excellent musician, too. They had met at Lady Berkshire's the night that Rubinstein played there. They had been inseparable for 18 months. Then, suddenly people had noticed that they scarcely spoke when they met. Campbell had become sad and uninterested in music. Nobody knew what had happened between the 2 men. This was the man Dorian was waiting for. The suspense became unbearable. At last the door opened, and his servant entered.
Mr. Campbell, sir.
Dorian breathed deeply. Alan Campbell walked in, looking very stern and pale.
Alan, this is very kind of you. Thank you for coming.
I decided never to enter your house again, Gray. But you said it was a matter of life and death.
His voice was hard and cold. He took a chair by the table, and Dorian sat opposite him. The 2 men were silent. Then Dorian spoke.
Alan, in a locked room at the top of this house, a dead man is sitting at a table. He's been dead for 10 hours now. Don't look at me like that. Who the man is, why and how he died isn't important to you. What you have to do is this.
Stop, Gray. I don't want to know anything more. Keep your horrible secrets to yourself. I don't want to be mixed up in your life. It doesn't interest me.
Alan, it will have to interest you. I'm very sorry, but you're the only man who can save me. You're a scientist. You know all about chemistry. You must destroy the body upstairs so that nothing remains of it.
You're mad, Dorian, to make this monstrous confession. I will have nothing to do with this matter. Do you think I'm going to ruin my reputation for you?
He committed suicide, Alan.
Who drove him to it? You, I suppose.
Do you still refuse to do this for me?
Of course I refuse. I don't care what shame comes on you. You deserve it all. You've come to the wrong man. Go to some of your friends. Don't come to me.
Alan, it was murder. I killed him. You don't know how he made me suffer, although he may not have intended it.
Murder? Good God, Dorian, is that what you have come to? I won't report you to the police. It's none of my business, but I'll have nothing to do with it.
Wait a moment. All I ask of you is to perform a scientific experiment. Think of the position I'm in. We were friends once, Alan.
Don't speak about those days, Dorian. They're dead. I absolutely refuse to do anything.
You refuse?
Yes.
I beg you.
It's useless.
A look of pity came into Dorian Gray's eyes. Then he took a piece of paper and wrote something on it. He read it twice, folded it and pushed it across the table. Then he got up and went over to the window. Campbell looked at him in surprise, took the paper and opened it. As he read it, his face became white and he fell back in his chair. A horrible sense of sickness came over him. After 2 or 3 minutes of terrible silence, Dorian came and stood behind him, putting his hand on his shoulder.
I'm so sorry for you, Alan,
he murmured.
but you leave me no alternative. I have a letter written already. Here it is. You see the address. If you don't help me, I'll send it. You know what the result will be. It's impossible for you to refuse now.
Campbell buried his face in his hands. He was trembling.
The thing has to be done. Face it and do it,
said Dorian.
I can't do it,
he said mechanically.
You have no choice.
Campbell hesitated for a moment.
Is there a fire in the room upstairs?
Yes, there's a gas fire.
I must go home and get some things from the laboratory.
No, Alan, you mustn't leave the house. Write on a piece of paper what you want and my servant will bring the things to you.
Campbell wrote a few things on a piece of paper. Dorian gave it to his servant with the order to return as soon as possible. As the clock struck 1, Campbell looked at Dorian Gray and said,
You're wicked. Absolutely wicked.
Alan, you've saved my life,
said Dorian.
What a life. You've gone from corruption to corruption.
At about 2 o'clock, the servant returned with a large box filled with the things Campbell had asked for.
You have the rest of the day to yourself, Francis.
Thank you, sir.
When the servant left, the 2 men carried the box up the stairs. Dorian unlocked the door and looked at Campbell.
I don't think I can go in, Alan.
He shuddered.
I don't need you,
said Campbell coldly. Dorian half opened the door and saw the face of the picture looking at him with its disgusting smile. The night before, for the first time in his life, he had forgotten to cover the fatal canvas. He rushed to cover it, and then saw something that made him shudder with horror. On one of the hands there was a large red spot, as if the canvas had sweated blood. It was horrible, more horrible than the silent thing sitting at the table. Dorian threw the cover on the portrait. Campbell brought in the heavy box.
Leave me alone now,
he said in a stern voice, and Dorian left the room. It was long after 7 when Campbell came back into the library. He was pale, but absolutely calm.
I've done what you asked me to do,
he muttered.
And now, goodbye. Let us never see each other again.
You've saved me from ruin, Alan. I can't forget that,
said Dorian simply. As soon as Campbell had left, he went upstairs. There was a horrible smell of nitric acid in the room, but the thing that had been sitting at the table was gone. Chapter 11. The Opium Den. That evening, exquisitely dressed, Dorian Gray entered Lady Narborough's dining room. No one looking at Dorian Gray could possibly have believed that he had murdered a man. It was a small party, and Dorian was glad to know that Lord Henry was going to be there too. His head ached, and at dinner he could not eat anything. He drank champagne eagerly, but his thirst seemed to increase.
Dorian,
said Lord Henry at last.
What's the matter with you tonight?
I'm tired, Harry, that's all. I think I'll go home now.
When he returned home, Dorian opened the secret cupboard where he had hidden Basil Hallward's coat and bag. He threw them into the big fire that was burning in the library. The smell of burning clothes and burning leather was horrible. In 3/4 of an hour the fire had destroyed everything. Dorian felt tired and sick, but suddenly his eyes became strangely bright, and his lips began to tremble. He needed to escape from reality for some time. He needed to forget what he had done. He got up from the sofa and went into his bedroom. When he came out at midnight, he was wearing old, common clothes, and a large scarf covered his face. He went out of the house quietly. In Bond Street he found a carriage, and in a low voice gave the driver an address. The man shook his head. "It's too far for me." Dorian gave him a gold coin and said,
"You'll get another if you drive fast."
"All right, sir," answered the man. "You'll be there in an hour." And he drove rapidly. A cold rain began to fall, and the street lamps looked ghastly in the mist. The moon hung low in the sky like a yellow skull. Lying in the carriage, Dorian repeated to himself the words that Lord Henry had said to him on the first day they met.
To cure the soul by means of the senses, and the senses by means of the soul.
Yes, that was the secret. The hideous hunger for opium began to eat at him. His throat burnt. He had often tried it, and would try it again now. There were opium dens where one could forget, dens of horror where the memory of old sins could be destroyed by the madness of new sins. After the long ride, he got out of the carriage and knocked on the door of a small, dirty house. He entered a long, low room. There were men lying on the filthy floor, and in a corner a sailor was sitting at a table with his head buried in his arms. At the end of the room there was a staircase leading upstairs. As Dorian climbed the steps, the heavy smell of opium came to meet him. He smiled with pleasure. When he entered, he noticed a young man with yellow hair smoking a long, thin pipe.
"Adrian Singleton, are you here?"
murmured Dorian.
"Where else could I be?"
answered the young man.
"No one speaks to me anymore. But I don't care, because as long as one has this stuff, one doesn't want friends."
Dorian shuddered and looked at the grotesque things that lay on the old mattresses. He wanted to leave. Memory was eating his soul away. From time to time he seemed to see the eyes of Basil Hallward looking at him. He wanted to escape from himself. As he was leaving, a woman shouted,
"There goes the devil's friend!"
"Curse you!"
answered Dorian.
"Don't call me that."
"Prince Charming is what you like to be called, isn't it?"
she shouted. The sailor, who had been sitting in a corner, jumped to his feet as she spoke and looked wildly around. Dorian had just gone out, and the sailor hurried after him. Dorian Gray walked quickly along the road, but as he reached the corner, a brutal hand closed around his throat. Dorian fought wildly for his life. Then he saw a pistol pointing at his head.
"What do you want?"
he gasped.
Keep quiet, or I'll shoot you.
"You're mad! What have I done to you?"
You destroyed the life of Sybil Vane,
answered the sailor.
and Sybil Vane was my sister. She killed herself because of you. For years I've looked for you, but I only knew the name she used to call you, Prince Charming. I heard your name by chance tonight. Pray to God, because tonight you're going to die."
Dorian Gray was sick with terror.
"I never knew her. You're mad."
He stammered. Suddenly, a wild hope crossed his mind.
"Stop!"
He cried.
"How long ago did your sister die?"
18 years ago.
James Vane replied.
18 years?
Laughed Dorian Gray.
Take me to the light and look at my face.
James Vane hesitated, and then pushed him towards the light. And he saw the face of a boy of 20 with all the purity of youth. It was obvious that he was not the man who had destroyed her life.
My God!
cried James Vane.
I nearly murdered you. Forgive me, sir.
Go home and put that pistol away before you get into trouble,
said Dorian, turning around and walking away. James Vane stood on the road in horror. Then a woman's hand touched his arm.
Why didn't you kill him? He's evil,
she said.
He isn't the man I'm looking for. The man whose life I want must be nearly 40 now. This one is little more than a boy.
The woman gave a bitter laugh.
Little more than a boy. It's 18 years since Prince Charming made me what I am.
You're lying,
cried James Vane.
By God, I'm telling the truth. I met him 18 years ago. He hasn't changed since then.
With a cry, James Vane ran to the corner of the road, but Dorian had disappeared, and the woman had vanished as well. Chapter 12. The Metamorphosis. One spring evening, Dorian Gray and Lord Henry were dining together.
Don't tell me you're going to be good. You're perfect. Don't change,
cried Lord Henry.
No, Harry. I've done too many terrible things in my life. I'm not going to do them any more. I began my good actions yesterday in the country.
Anybody can be good in the country,
said Lord Henry, smiling.
There are no temptations there. But tell me about your good action.
Some time ago, I met a girl in a village. She was very beautiful, like Sybil Vane. Do you remember her? We fell in love, and during the wonderful month of May, I went to see her. She was ready to run away with me, but I said no. I didn't want to ruin her life. I left her as flower-like as I found her.
So you broke her heart, and this was your good action?
Said Lord Henry, laughing.
Harry!
Cried Dorian.
You're horrible. Of course, she cried, but her reputation is safe. Let's talk about other things. What's happening in London?
People are still discussing poor Basil's disappearance.
I thought they'd be tired of that by now,
said Dorian.
Not yet, although there are plenty of other things to talk about. There's my divorce case and Alan Campbell's suicide. But poor Basil still interests them. Scotland Yard insists that Basil left for Paris, but the French police declare that Basil never arrived there.
Don't people say that he was murdered?
Asked Dorian.
Some newspapers do, but it doesn't seem probable.
What would you say if I told you that I murdered Basil?
Asked Dorian. He watched Lord Henry carefully.
No, Dorian, you wouldn't murder anyone. All crime is vulgar, just as all vulgarity is crime. Ordinary people murder because it's their way of finding the extraordinary pleasure that art gives us. But enough of Basil. What happened to the portrait that Basil painted of you? Oh, yes, I remember. You said it had been stolen. What a pity.
I never really liked it.
Tell me the secret of your eternal youth, Dorian. You look like the day I first met you. I wish I could change places with you. Life has been your art.
Yes, life has been wonderful, but I'm not going to have the same life. You don't know everything about me. If you did, even you would turn from me. Don't laugh.
You and I will always be friends,
said Lord Henry.
Yet you poisoned me with a book once. Harry, promise me that you'll never lend that book to anyone. It does harm.
Lord Henry looked at the moonlit garden.
Let's go to the club.
I'm tired tonight. I want to go to bed early. I'll see you tomorrow.
One evening, when Dorian arrived home, he threw himself on the sofa and began to think. Was it really true that one could never change? He had filled his mind with corruption, committed horrible crimes, and had been an evil influence on others. Was there no hope for him? Why had he ever made that monstrous wish about the picture? He had kept his youth and beauty, but he had paid a terrible price. He picked up a mirror and looked at his face. It disgusted him, and he threw the mirror on the floor where it broke in 1,000 silver pieces. James Vane, Alan Campbell, Basil Hallward would soon fade away. It was the death of his own soul that tormented him. He wanted a new life. Then he remembered the country girl. He had not destroyed her innocence. He had done one good thing, and he wondered if the portrait had changed. Perhaps if his life became pure, he would be able to cancel every sign of corruption from the portrait. He took the lamp and went upstairs to look at it. He entered quietly and removed the cover. A cry of pain and anger came from him.
Ah!
He could see no change, except that in the eyes there was now a look of falsity, and on the mouth a smile of hypocrisy. The thing was more horrible than before. It was only out of vanity and hypocrisy that he had spared the young girl. But was the murder going to torment him all his life? Should he confess and be put to death? Never. The picture was the only evidence against him. He would destroy it. He looked around and saw the knife that had stabbed Basil Hallward. He would destroy the past. He seized the knife and stabbed the picture with it. There was a horrible, agonizing cry. And a crash. The servants woke and talked in low, frightened voices. They went up to the room and knocked, but there was no reply. They could not open the door, so they climbed down from the roof and entered through the window. When they entered, they found the splendid portrait of their master in all his exquisite youth and beauty. Lying on the floor was a dead man with a knife in his heart. He was hideously ugly and old. It was not until they examined his rings that they recognized who it was.